Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
All right, buddy, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, November the 30th, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Hello, gentlemen.
How is everybody doing?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay.
How was Turkey Day for both of you?
Turkey-less, but good.
Turkey-less.
Did you have a faux turkey?
No.
Do you have any tofurkey?
No.
Did you have anything worth mentioning?
I made a butternut squash mac and cheese.
Very nice.
Interesting.
That sounds interesting, actually. It does.
Very good. Roasted butternut squash.
Mac and cheese. Two simple ingredients.
It's cheeseless, actually, but it was good. The so-called cheese was made from cashews.
Well, those are pretty much the best of the nuts.
When asked, yeah. I mean, the walnuts always have something to say.
I thought the three of us were the best of the nuts.
Well, not anymore.
Apparently not.
We've been
We've
usurped.
been usurped.
13 seconds in, and we've got a dad joke.
There we go. Let me ask you this. Did either of you guys growing up have the holiday nut bowl with the crackers and the pickers?
Sure. Absolutely.
Like a cheese ball with nuts on it? Or?
No, it was like a nut bowl. It was round, and you put the nuts in it, and then in the middle of it, there was a little thing that had holes in it, and you had the nut crackers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
A little,
No,
I don't know. Nobody knows about
the
those
dental pick, as I used to like to call it.
Right? Yeah,
Because when you crack open the walnuts,
you want to be able to pick them out of your teeth.
The Brazil nuts too. You can never get the Brazil nuts out of these.
I try to never get a Brazil in my nuts.
Yeah, that's why when you mentioned walnuts, I
did it once, and the reflection was way too bright.
Mm-hmm. All righty.
I don't know if anyone does that anymore. I don't know if anyone picks their nuts anymore like that.
Oh, the Brazilians, though, they do. It's as you know, for OnlyFans.
Absolutely. He has a Brazilian every Wednesday and Saturday.
I feel like the nutcrackers got to come back, right? I felt like the nut bowl was always some sort of burnt orange or some sort of like avocado green.
Well,
they were never a normal color.
Yeah, they were, but think about the time that we were growing up. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Everything was burnt orange or avocado green.
Everything was faux paneling and
they were like the
burnt umber.
Looked like the side of a station wagon.
That's right. Everything looks like a van you didn't want to get into.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not the only one.
No. I always point out because I love nuts.
I always pull them out. John always pulls his nuts out of things.
I always take my nuts out on Thanksgiving.
When you were bored in my house around Christmas time, you just pull out some nuts, put them in the cracker, squeeze, and then grab the hook, the iron hook, and pick out the pieces.
There was one Christmas where I was at my cousin's and my aunt and uncle's house, and another family member brought a boyfriend at the time, and I had never met him, but my first, without ever saying hello to him, he was cracking walnuts on his forehead. That's my one memory. So I don't even remember his name. I just remember that he,
there you go,
I guess, was trying to impress people by cracking walnuts on his forehead.
Do you think, would someone have told him as a joke that was a family tradition? And then
quite possibly, but I don't think that any sort of prompting was necessary.
I could actually see certain members of your family actually making that comment to whoever it was.
Well, it would have been me.
You would have been one of them. Yeah.
Would you like to say grace or do the cracking of the walnut?
Cracking of the walnut. Now, here's the question though: was he just placing it and pushing hard, or was he slamming it on his forehead?
I believe he was. If my memory serves me correct, he was slamming it into his forehead.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so
you gotta love it.
Oh, yeah, that's some traditions are unique.
Yeah, every Christmas somebody needs to pass out, and he was, trying to kill two birds with one walnut.
One stone. Yeah, there you go.
He wanted to be able to drive later, so he didn't want to get drunk. So we figured,
well, I don't know about that.
I'll knock myself out with a walnut instead.
Usually not a consideration, but yeah,
pretty much not. No, exactly. All right, actually, got a question for you guys.
Okay.
Sports, right? We're here to talk about sports.
I mean, if we have to,
if we have to, yeah. I want to talk much about baseball here. We'll do the right thing. We'll put the baseball background up there for it. I don't want to talk much about it because it's obviously not. Hot Stove hasn't really started heating up yet. But I got like 2-3 quick questions for you. One, first of all, just to get this out of the way, Jose Abreu going to the Astros. I mean, it's good for the Astros, but it's like the Astros are becoming the Dodgers and the old Yankees.
Are they though? I mean, the Astros they lose people though too, and I feel like they're actually different than the Dodgers in that they tend to make pretty good decisions in replacement players. I mean, think about who they've lost over the last few years, and think about who they've brought. They have the kind of a constant new rotation.
Right.
Other than Verlander, they really haven't had any big free agent signings. They've lost some people to big contracts, but they haven't really made any. And look, they make smarter decisions in signing Josh Donaldson to a 3-year contract.
True.
So, I actually, as much as I, want the Yankees to beat the Astros, when I look at it logically, the Astros are a better organization, and they have been for a long time.
Yeah, and the other difference with them and the Dodgers is they win more consistently.
Well, they've won 2 World Series. The Dodgers have won 1. The Astros have been there. They've been the elite team of the American League for the last, let's say, 5-6 years, and nothing's going to change that unless the Yankees make some moves this offseason. And one of them might be overpaying a pitcher who's going to turn 40, I think, next year. So,
just 40?
We'll see. 40.
Just 40.
Only 40?
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I think, it doesn't surprise me with the Astros. They're smart, and they have a better gauge of talent as well.
Fair enough.
And, you'd have to think that they are one of the destination teams that players will want to go to.
At this point, right? Yeah.
Obviously, all the scandal is done and over, and I don't think...
But they're not really. They kind of bring up through their system, or they trade for guys that are under the radar and give them 2 or 3 years to develop. And then when they lose a big player to free agency, a la George Springer, then they kind of slide some next man up. I mean, there's been very few big, other than, like I said, other than Verlander, and he's been on the Astros for how many years now? There's been very few big name. They don't go out and overpay people.
Right, but my point is, where would you put Abreu? Would you say he's an established, great player who's been doing it for years and he's a big name? No, right? He's up and coming. He certainly has shown.
I wouldn't say that he's a big established player and he's been doing it for years, but I wouldn't say. I think he's a little bit. I think he's a little bit above up and coming at this point.
Right,
probably somewhere in between.
He's had more than kind of one good year, and he's maybe a phenom or maybe a flash in the pan. So where does a guy like that want to go? A team like the Astros,
right? He is the perfect ad for the Astros, and this also sort of tells me that maybe Verlander's moving on and having another young. I don't know. That's what it tells me. We'll see.
Okay. We'll see.
They also invest in pitchers, so
they do. Speaking of investing in certain players, let's jump to the Yankees really quick. This popped up the other day. I just want to throw this graphic up there. This is odds of where Judge is going to wind up. So right now, Giants are leading 33 1/3. So 1 out of
This
3
is who's
chance.
who's
Yeah,
whose
who
list?
unless this
The
is from
game
Aaron,
day.
unless this is from Aaron
game
Judge
day.
himself, it means
The game
nothing.
day. The game day. The game day.
What
So
is the
it's
game day? I don't even know.
the
what
game
that
day.
is.
It's something online that I follow or whatever. But there was a
All right.
lot of people,
Well,
and it's
you know
followed
what?
by a lot of pundits. It's not some guy just sitting in his basement doing this graphic, right?
Yeah, no. I was going to say they have better information than me, certainly.
Sure.
So I will defer to their
Yankees in second, obviously at 26.7%. Dodgers 16.7% to land there. Astros 11.8. Mets 11.8. Red Sox 7.7. The rest of the field 12.1%. So, which means he's either going to the Giants or the Yankees, right? The Yankees made an offer to him, 8 years, $300 million, and he turned it down. 8 years, $300 million, and he turned it down. Now,
When did he turn that down?
that was today, yesterday,
Okay.
the day before, recently.
And do we know for a fact that he turned it down, or he's waiting to see what other teams offer?
I don't know that. I can't tell you. It sounded when I heard it, it sounded like he turned it down.
The Yankees also presented that as a starting point and said that it was negotiable.
All right. Well, 320 at 8 years would be 40 million. Would be average annual value of 40 million. So obviously, 300 at 8 is under 40 million.
What was the deal they offered him before the season started?
6 years and a lot less, obviously.
230.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the Dodgers just made an 8-year, $213 million offer. And of course, he turned that down. But now, so the speculation is that the Dodgers are actually, for their own benefit, mind you, not for the Giants' benefit, but for their own benefit, trying to raise the price so that if he does wind up with the Giants, they've spent so much money on him, there's not a whole hell of a lot else they're going to do.
That only works if they outbid the Yankees, or if he's
Right.
really not interested in being with the Yankees anymore.
Right.
But I don't. Neither one of those things I would think is true at this moment.
The further we go, and granted, the season's not that far over yet, but the further this drags on. The winter meetings start on Sunday. The further this drags on, I'm believing that he's going to stay with the Yankees, because if he wanted to go home, he would have made that decision already, and he would have let them know that. And if they would have matched, if they were going to give him, 8 years for $300 million, everybody's speculating he's going to wind up with 9 at $375. So if that's something the Giants offer him,
I don't know. Aaron Judge is a pretty smart guy. I don't know who his agent is, but he's probably pretty smart too.
You would think.
I could see him just going, you know what? You don't have to do anything yet. You don't have to show your cards. Just relax. Let's hear what everybody has to say. Let the cycle spin. Let the hype machine hype. Mm-hmm. And then you'll make your decision. So,
right. Fair enough.
I think probably if it were just Aaron Judge deciding this, I think what you just said would be right. But right. I think he's smart enough to listen to the people that he
entrusts
pays a lot of money to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do this sort of stuff.
Fair enough.
I'm sure whoever his agent is not telling him, well, you know where you want to go. Just sign with him.
Just sign with him already. Yeah. That's true too.
To that point, at some point it's splitting hairs. It's sort of like you're committing so much money that it sort of becomes ludicrous to really worry about the extra year and the extra 20 million. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's kind of my point to all, or 30 million, or whatever the hell it is. My point to all of this is Aaron Judge had a great year. He's had 2 really phenomenal years in his time in baseball.
His first year and this past year.
Yeah. And and that's 2 more than a lot of other players have had.
Sure.
If the Yankees do offer him 9 years and whatever 300, I don't know what it's going to be.
It'd have to be like 360 million for an average annual value of 40.
Yeah. Are they doing themselves any service? I mean, yes, okay, the Yankees have had a team that ultimately lost to the World Series champions. They didn't look great against them, but they were a couple players away. And obviously, if you take Aaron Judge out of the mix, they're more than a couple players away.
Sure.
But Aaron Judge had nothing to do with the Yankees in that series. He was horrible.
Yeah,
as were most of them.
Nobody hit the ball. So.
Nobody hit the ball. So the only way you're going to beat the Astros is by outpitching them. And with that pitching staff, it's hard. The Yankees re-sign Aaron Judge. Who else do they add? There's been rumors about potential talks to trade Donaldson and move Gleyber Torres. There's been some talks that they've been nibbling around the edges, but it doesn't look like they're going to go after Carlos Rodon. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to add a really big name starting pitcher to the lineup. They committed to Rizzo. They're committing to really having the same team they had last year. Mm-hmm. So and asking Judge to do as much as he did last year. Now, on paper, a healthy DJ LeMahieu, who was great in the first half of the season before he injured his toe, helps. Re-signing Benintendi certainly helps with them being able to manufacture some runs. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to re-sign Matt Carpenter. They got a lot of kind of role players there. But does re-signing Aaron Judge alone, to me, it does not make the Yankees.
No, it doesn't. But you know what? It doesn't. But you know what it does? It gives the fan base somebody to continue to cheer for, as opposed to they didn't get Aaron Judge back. They couldn't re-sign him, and all we're left with is Donaldson and these guys. Blah, blah, blah. And now they don't have their star, their would-be captain if he was to stay there. I mean that's
I could cheer for Justin Verlander, and
they're going to make look. The bottom line is more Judge jerseys, a lot of endorsement stuff that they can.
I get it. And
viewership.
The Yankees have always had that. The Yankees have always had that, even
right, and they're going to have it too. But if it does fall off at all, I mean, you're looking at
he's their only bona fide star. Right. He's their only bona fide.
Let me. You know what? Since you just said that was bring me to the question I was going to ask: is can you really win with one bona fide star anymore?
No,
you can't.
You become the Angels. You can't even win with two bona fide stars.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you could almost say three. Right. You could call Ohtani and Judge. It's kind of like three because he had a pretty darn good pitching year.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And, of course, Trout missed the time, of course. But still. So, either it's two players or it's a guy in the field and a great pitcher, maybe, right? That's going to be the...
You got to have the right mix.
Might give you a chance, though. You can't do it with just one good guy and a bunch of role players anymore.
You can't.
So,
no.
I mean... back to your question. If you're paying somebody $40 million a year for 9 years, who are you going to bring in? Where are you going to bring that?
At the age of 31, his first $40 million year is at the age of 31.
Mm-hmm. Now, if there's a nod and a wink and he signs that deal, is he going to play until he's 40? Probably not. So if there's an agreement that if you're going to retire at 36 or 37 or whatever, then maybe we restructure.
Oh, it'll be completely front loaded. It'll be very front loaded.
Yeah. But so I don't. And it's a lot of money to tie up, and if you're not going to, not going to bring in that second guy.
The Yankees used to be the team that would wait and select from all the people that are asking them to go to the prom with them. Mm-hmm. And now they're desperate to hold on to just anybody who's willing to stay. And
how long is Cole going to be around?
Well, I mean, he signed a long contract. He's still
okay. So he's here for a few more years. Okay.
Years, yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay.
There's been talk of Verlander. There's been talk of DeGrom. They both have big question marks. I think maybe a little less of a question mark with Verlander. He didn't have a great World Series game. He had a couple decent games. He had a great year, obviously winning Cy Young. I mean, if you take a Verlander and Cole and you pair it up with a Nestor Cortez and a Luis Severino, that can match up against a Valdez, especially with no Verlander on Houston.
Right.
So even if you lose game one, you still got a pretty deep starting rotation there, and it helps you get through a season because inevitably people are going to miss games.
True.
The Rizzo thing, that the Yankees confuse me because the Rizzo thing is sort of like, we don't care about money. We just want to have you here because you had an okay year and you're a first baseman, and that's great.
Right.
But everything else is contradictory. I mean, and we've talked about this. It's confusing to me. And I don't think the Yankees are sure as to whether or not they're going to land Judge. And I think if they don't, he's going to put them in a situation where they're going to be behind and scrambling to try to get the best parts of the puzzle. And some of those might actually be, I think everybody is going to wait until the Judge decision is done. And 2 days after that, you're going to see 12
floodgates.
You're going to see the floodgates.
Signings, yeah. Absolutely. No, that's what definitely everybody's waiting for. And on those notes, too, and what you mentioned before, one of the big questions, obviously, DeGrom with the Mets, but Nimmo also, for some reason. And look, I love Brandon Nimmo. He's a great leadoff hitter. The energy he brings to the team is amazing. But, I mean, they're touting him as the best center fielder to ever play the game.
It has Jacoby Ellsbury written all over it.
Right? So and here's the thing. This has been speculated around. I've heard it several times.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. If Nimmo leaves the Mets, watch out. Benintendi goes to the Mets.
Yeah, there's if the Yankees don't get Judge, the Yankees could be players for both DeGrom, although I think DeGrom will go elsewhere, and Nimmo. You know, why the Yankees are not, going out there and trying to get Trey Turner just doesn't. I just don't understand.
It really doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. Make any sense.
And you could.
I think it because they don't want to spend money until they know what they're doing with Judge.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
On that note,
which you would think if they signed Turner, that would be a bargaining chip for them. Right. They're not going to say to Aaron Judge, "Hey, we got Trey Turner. We don't need you anymore.
Right.
Here's $31 million a year or whatever it is. Take it or leave it." But it gives them another star player and makes them more attractive to Aaron Judge.
If Judge and the Yankees are actually interested in winning a championship, and at this point, one championship, okay, we'll take it. It's been a long time. It's going to be within the next 2 years. So you have to commit now to putting the best team on the field. Okay. And sure, if you take chances on some guys who've had 1 or 2 good years and then have dropped off, like they did with Giancarlo Stanton, like they did with Jacoby Ellsbury, like they've done with a couple other players, or you're trying to squeeze one more year out of a Josh Donaldson. Look, they got lucky with Trevino, but Trevino was a different player in the first half of the season than the second half. Is he even a starting catcher on the Yankees next year? Right. There's been some talk about the Yankees going after a catcher. I think if you sign Trey Turner and you can somehow still commit to whatever Judge is going to demand, then you've become a better team. And if Judge leaves, then you've already got Trey Turner as a great hitter leading off the lineup, and you can go out and spend that money on a DeGrom or on another top pitcher and fill that and re-sign Benintendi. And you're going to lose some production from a RBI and from a power standpoint, but you might actually be a better team at the end of the day.
There's been
put a good a great defensive outfielder with a little bit of speed, who obviously doesn't, hit 60 home runs and hit 350 or whatever it was that Judge hit last year.
And in his defense, I think Judge one of the top 3 defensive outfield. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 right fielders in baseball. Defense.
I agree. So replace that defense.
But he's not going to be that at 35.
Right. But I'm saying if he goes and you've got Turner, then just put great defense and some speed out there. Right. And, again, look to be a little different team that manufactures runs.
Yeah.
I mean, the elephant in the room is Stanton, who didn't have a horrible year. He had a couple clutch hits in the postseason. He's always that guy that, it's like for what they paid for him and what the promise was, it's almost like an afterthought. He's like the Russell Westbrook of the Yankees. It's like,
quite frankly, yes. On that note, well, first of all, quick side note. There's been talk that another team is entering the DeGrom mix, and that'll be the Rays.
And the Rangers, right?
Rangers were always in it. It was
Yeah,
Rangers.
Mets. For some reason, he wants to go to the Rangers.
But don't count out the Rays if they're actually going to make a push, because they actually have money to spend. They tried to go after Freddie Freeman last year and lost the bid out to LA, but Tampa is literally miles away from home for Jacob deGrom.
Right.
So,
and I've heard some rumors that the Phillies are not out of the mix.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to. I can't even say the Rangers anymore because they're all in apparently on Carlos Rodon.
Yeah. Well, Carlos Rodon is who I wanted the Yankees to sign.
Right.
At the All-Star break.
So it's going to. It will. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's either going to be a Met. I was going to say or not, but clearly, but no. If he, here's the thing: if he wants to be a Met, he's going to be a Met, and that doesn't just mean that with any salary. I mean, he'll get the money he wants.
They'll make it work. Yeah.
They'll make it work. If he just does not want to be in New York anymore, then there's no amount of money Steve Cohen's going to pay him to get him to stay.
Let me ask you guys a question. 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
You got to sign one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Verlander or DeGrom? Who do you sign?
2-year contract. Have to sign one of them.
Just one of them.
At this moment, right now, Verlander. I love Jacob deGrom, but what has he done in the last 2 years?
I agree. By the way.
Yeah.
I think DeGrom is going to be surprised at how many complications and performance incentives there's going to be in a contract.
In any contract. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he is not super psyched to remain a Met.
If he's not super psyched to remain a Met.
If he's not now,
why do you say that?
And I say that because, I mean, look at, first of all, the history, right? And what do I always say about the Jets and the Mets? The Mets are going to be the Mets until the right, but
so not the Mets.
I got you.
Look what's happened the last 2 years.
But you got a better chance of winning with the Mets than you do with the Rangers,
sure,
or maybe even the Rays.
With the money that's in the. Here's the thing: a lot of the Mets folklore, if you will, the Mets are always going to be the Mets until they're not the Mets anymore, like you say, and also what the Wilpons have done in the past to deGrom and a lot of other players and so forth and so on, no support, so forth and so on. That's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. It's Steve Cohen time, and he's the richest owner in baseball. He apparently wants to make it work at any cost. Right. You know,
that's all well and good, but it's the same old story the last 2 years. First place, fall apart. I mean, this past year was a clown show. You couldn't, if you wanted to think of the what would be the most damaging to a Met player / fan psyche, it's what went on with the Mets this year.
They did have a lot of injuries. Their pitching staff was never really pitching together for the majority of the year. I will say this:
everyone has injuries.
They are definitely living up to being the Mets.
Yeah, it's still happening, and it's going to happen until it doesn't. And if you're Jacob deGrom, you might be convinced it's not going to happen in my lifetime.
But other than the Astros and the Dodgers, I don't think there's a team on paper that's better than the Mets.
Well, paper doesn't win the World Series.
Well, but they did. They still won, 99 games?
101.
101, whatever it was. I get it. They underperformed and they lost when they
underperformed in the last 2 weeks and the first series.
Right. They fell apart. The wheels fell off, and the
wheels fell off for the last 2 weeks.
A lot of that, I think, has to do with the format of the playoffs. The Dodgers also fell apart. Okay, we saw the Mets and Dodgers both out in the early rounds,
and the Braves.
So those are the 3 top teams in the National League. So I think you got to give the Mets another year. I think they're going to do things to sort of make that lineup even better. I think DeGrom is less of an important piece on the Mets than some other players.
Agreed.
I think if the Mets lose DeGrom, it could be, I don't want to say a blessing, because arguably he's the best pitcher in baseball if he's healthy.
Right.
But
can he stay healthy?
He hasn't been the best pitcher on the field in 4 years.
And listen, and that might be, another reason why he's maybe I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, and he doesn't like the pressure in New York. You go play in Texas. I mean, it's a big. You're playing for a big state with a big population, but you're not going to have the New York Post writing about you every day.
That's true. And listen, look at the Rangers. Made some moves. They look like
last year they were planning for the future, and they've got they got John Gray from the Rockies. They obviously invested in their position players. We knew that their pitching was going to be something that they needed to improve, and what better way to improve it than going out and getting a DeGrom or a Rodin or both.
Yeah.
They have the money to do both.
Exactly.
So that might be, you know what I mean? That might be a more attractive option for him than same old fucking Mets. No matter what I do, I won 16 Cy Youngs, and they couldn't score more than a run and a half. You know what I mean?
Every time.
No matter what I Jacob DeGrom do, it's still going to be the same result.
Makes the Mets rotation a big question mark.
Yeah,
with Scherzer's age and injury. DeGrom, if DeGrom is gone, they gotta rethink that, and they gotta get. So that's a big decision for the Mets.
Yeah, they do.
That everything's going to revolve around that.
Let's wrap up baseball. One other last thing on the Mets. They offered Carlos Beltran a coaching position on the staff, and he turned it down. He says not what he's interested in.
Look, can I say something to Mets fans and to the Mets organization?
Mm-hmm.
Forget about Carlos Beltran.
Oh no! I didn't care. I'm happy he did. I don't want him involved.
And to the New York Yankees, Don Mattingly does not want to work for you. So Don Mattingly is to the Yankees as to Carlos Beltran is to the Mets. Stop texting each other at midnight.
Yeah.
Get over it. It's over.
Yeah. If you're trying to groom Beltran to be the manager when Buck says bye-bye, stop. No, don't do it.
It's not going to happen.
Just go get somebody else.
No, that's all.
Stop trying to make nice because the breakup wasn't good.
Exactly. All right. All right. Let's go to football. A little football. All right. So, Thanksgiving games. It's pretty good to talk about them. Good games, except for one.
It's still a decent.
The Dallas game was great.
Oh yeah, for you.
The Dallas game is really the only game that went as you sort of expected it to go.
Right. In the beginning of the game, this was a common scene. I think after about 4 or 5 plays in the beginning of the game, this was shot.
I know
from.
If you think the Giants lost because of the refs, then you got another thing coming.
More on that. More on that.
I don't want to
meme later. No, not about the Giants, just in general on that meme. But I just had to throw that up there. But no, look, they had half a team on the field.
And they're going to have half a team this year.
They were going to lose this year.
This week.
They were. There's talk that a couple of guys on the offensive line might come back this week. So we'll see.
Yeah, they lost was it 6 players the week before?
Yeah,
6 guys got hurt the week before, was it?
And they already had 3 out, so there was 9.
What's happening is that the Giants' secondary is being exposed, and it's being exposed because
both of their starting cornerbacks are out.
I was going to say that has a lot to do with it. The other part of it is that their pass rush isn't what it was in the beginning of the year.
Right.
So, and look, Dallas is a team that is starting to come together. Now they beat the Giants. I'm not going to go off on a tangent here and say that they're going to win the NFC, but the NFC is a toss up, and I do think Dallas is the second best team in the NFC East. I mean, they're better than the Giants. Mm-hmm. They should be, especially with the Giants team that was hurt by injuries. Could the Giants come back and beat Dallas? Sure, on any given day, but Dallas didn't even play their best game, and they kind of handled them pretty easy.
To me, it sort of looked like in the second half, the Cowboys remembered that they are a better team.
What they did is they made the Giants pass the ball. How many times did Daniel Jones pass the ball on Thanksgiving? That's a lose. Anytime it's over 25, it's a losing proposition.
Way too many.
Ball 43 times. I think that's about as much as he threw in the last 3 games prior to that combined.
It might be combined.
I think it was. I'm not joking. So, look, I'm not putting it on Daniel Jones, but the Giants are a team. And look, they're keying on Saquon, and they don't have the wideouts to sort of just with the afterburners to instill fear in a defense. So they're gonna stack the box. They're gonna stop the run and make you pass the ball.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna. No, you're right. Oh my
so
God.
let me ask you guys this, because you're both Giants fans.
I'm getting. You ask the questions. I'm getting
so. What would constitute, given what they've done so far, what constitutes a failure or a success for the Giants this season?
Oh, they've already been a success. If they lose every game from now on, they've done way more than what. Yeah,
the 7 wins is.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think we tend to forget, and certainly.
I think they'll maybe win one more game, but I don't.
Can they get to 9? Can they maybe get to 9 wins?
They can. They can.
But would that be good enough for a playoff spot?
Might be in the NFC.
Could be. Although the Commanders are probably going to cause a problem there.
Right now, if the season ended today, the entire NFC East would be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All 3 wild card teams would be Dallas, Giants, and Washington. But
I think we were talking about this when the season started, right?
Yeah.
But whatchamacallit, I just looked it up 2 weeks ago right now. The number 1 running back in the entire NFL was Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, he had a couple yards on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he had like 8 yards on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Then the Giants played the Lions, and Saquon Barkley rushed for 22 yards in the entire game. Then 4 days later, they played the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and Saquon Barkley rushed for 39 yards for the entire game. He's rushed 61 yards in 2 games after being the leading rusher 2 weeks ago. So now the biggest part of that clearly is the 17,000 offensive linemen that are out on the Giants, and the guys that were working at Taco Bell 2 weeks ago now as the offensive linemen.
Good place to train.
Right, of course.
For offense.
We went from left taco to left tackle.
Right, exactly. So
2 more chalupas, buddy.
Clearly the reason they were putting in the jumbo package, if you will, and that's what he was rushing behind, and that's where he's getting all his yards from. They couldn't do that. So Saquon was getting exposed, obviously, because he had nobody to block for him. He couldn't get out of his own way. So Daniel Jones has to throw the ball. And whether Daniel Jones is a good quarterback or not, he's got nobody to throw the ball to. Again, he's got the friends of the guys that were working at Taco Bell that are on the offensive line that were maybe the fry cooks in the back at Taco Bell as wide receivers right now.
Whose fault? We talk about how incredible Brian Daboll is, but there's only one person to blame for why Daniel Jones has no receivers to throw to. He got rid of all of them because he didn't like them.
Well, he got rid of all of them because he had to fix the cap situation. He wasn't going to do it this year. That was the main thing that Joe Shane had to do, right? He had to make cuts so that he could have money next year and then rebuild.
He got rid
the
of
right way.
He got rid of guys that were in the rookie contracts that he didn't like, who are probably going to wind up playing in the AFC Championship game, for the Kansas City Chiefs. So
no, he got rid of guy, not guys.
Well, what other wide receivers have the Giants either benched completely or gotten rid of this year?
Well, I mean, don't forget Sterling Shepard was a big part of the Giants wide receivers, and he tore his ACL, so he's out for the year.
True, that was a big loss.
All right, then Darius Slayton's been there, and they didn't re-sign a couple of the pickups that they got off the Cincinnati practice squad 2 years ago, and those guys that were actually filling the void when you had Darius Slayton and sorry, I'm losing my mind here.
The guy they picked up from the Vikings.
No, I was talking about Sterling Shepard, but they have Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay is supposed to be the star. I think I could go catch many more passes than Kenny Galladay could at this point.
But that's what my point is that they didn't get rid of him, but basically not playing him very much.
Well, they couldn't use because every time they put him in, he drops the ball.
No.
At least Richie James, at least it's not a name. And yeah, granted, he dropped 2 punts 3 weeks ago, but 4 weeks ago. But
you got to take the bad with the mediocre,
good, right? Yeah, exactly.
But, so the plan was never to really give Daniel Jones.
They weren't winning this year. They were not. They knew they weren't winning this year. They were putting what they could on the field with what they had. They were obviously going to bulk up the offensive line and rush the ball.
But I think to Harry's point, though, you've given up on Kadarius Toney. Was that his name?
Yep.
Right. Well, you know what?
Which everybody thought was almost a steal in the draft, right? A big guy, can make plays, can do this. Now, who knows what exactly happened, but it doesn't.
Well, he was always hurt. He was always hurt. He wasn't playing. He didn't want to be there. They didn't like him. His attitude, this, that, with all these other things. But you know, I get you.
But you can't waste draft capital like that.
But here, yeah, exactly. You can't waste. Well, it wasn't Joe Shane's draft capital, right? So, but here's the thing, though. Everybody said no. His hamstring's not hurt. His hamstring's not hurt. Just isn't playing. They're not playing him. He doesn't want to play. They're not playing him. He goes out to Kansas City, plays 1.5 games, and he's on the IR with a hamstring.
Yeah.
So clearly there's an issue with his hammy. So Joe Shane was probably just like, all right, enough. Let me get little more draft capital. It's not going to work anyway. Let's build it the right way. Look, if I agree that Kadarius Toney is a talent and he should have been playing for the Giants, but if there was a lot of other underlying things going on, injury prone, attitude, goodbye. Let's start over.
What the Giants have proved this year, is if they can run the ball, okay, that they're a team that can win a fair share of their games. Okay, they've also shown that if Daniel Jones could be put in a situation where he can hold on to the ball and is not asked to be passing as much,
right,
that they can be a team that limits their turnovers and controls the clock. Daniel Jones can hit a 6 and 8 yard out pattern. He can do the dink and dunk stuff. And he can run.
Yeah.
He can run the ball. So, but the Giants are doing themselves no favors in continuing to have success on the level of play of what the quarterback is, because they're going to have to make a big decision on Daniel Jones at the end of this season. And I'm sorry, I don't have anything personally against Daniel Jones, but I'm a Giants fan. They got to let him go. They got to move on with a new quarterback. So
here's
and I know your theory. The Giants have never drafted a good quarterback.
No. Stephen A. Smith weighed in on it because you know how good at football he is. But he weighed in. He says, "There's no."
He hates the Cowboys, so you
right? Yeah, exactly.
He likes the Cowboys. He hates their fans.
He said. Daniel Jones is not an elite quarterback. He's not the quarterback for the Giants. They got to let him go. So, but in opposite of that, Osi Umenyiora, former defensive player for the Giants, says that he is, and he needs to stay there. He needs to be there in the long run for the Giants. And the bottom line is, who you getting? They came out of cap hell. Next year, they'll be out of cap hell. They have some money to spend. They have a lot of holes to fill. They can't go out and sign Jimmy Garoppolo. They can't go out and sign Aaron Rodgers. They can't go out and sign Tom Brady. I'm saying that they're going to come here, but I'm just saying.
Do they sign Jones to a 2 or 3 year deal and draft somebody?
Franchise tag him. Yeah. Sign Saquon, franchise tag for 1 year, franchise tag Daniel Jones. See what happens next year with better things around.
And then there are a couple draft options.
Right.
Who knows if they'll be around? The Giants are just hurting themselves by winning 8 games.
By winning games, right? Yeah. So, but winning breeds winning. So I understand why Dable wants to win, because the mindset that they've gone through over the last 6 fucking years with these moronic asshole head coaches that these assholes have brought to the table. All right, Shermer, Judge, whatchamacallit, McAdouchebag. It's a losing mentality. It just kept going, sinking further and further and further and further and further down. Win. You know what? If we can't get the top 10 pick, who gives a shit? Because Tom Brady, last I checked, wasn't a top 10 pick. Joe Montana, last I checked, wasn't a top 10 pick.
No.
So,
They should have known that McAdoosh.
Dan Marino wasn't a top 10 pick.
Just because of his name, they should have known he was lousy.
And Daniel Jones was definitely not a top 10 pick.
How about that?
Daniel Jones would have been a great find if he was drafted in the 4th round with the 22nd pick.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
22nd pick in the 4th round. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. All right. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Conversely, the hat that Pete is wearing. Okay.
You think you've got quarterback problems?
Yeah, let's talk about Mike White. I want to put up a series of photos here. First of all, let's look at this for a second. This was a photo shot of Zach Wilson on the sideline.
I know what you're putting up. I love this picture.
This past Sunday. Okay.
I love this picture.
There you go. Now, take a look at that face. Now look at it side by side with this face.
It is raining.
All right. Well, yeah. If you're listening to the audio podcast, I suggest you just log on to Facebook and about 45 minutes in and see the picture I'm talking about.
I don't think Wilson's got what it takes to be a Sith Lord.
Probably not.
But last time Mike White had a great game, the other shoe fell off pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did.
Here's what I heard the other day.
What'd you hear?
Mike White has 4 starts for the Jets, I think it is, and has 2 games with 3 touchdowns. Zach Wilson has 20 starts for the Jets and has 0 games with 3 touchdowns. Now it's picking and choosing and all that, but there is the point, and the point is that other people have thrived in this offense, and Zach Wilson does not seem to have.
Nope.
Now, granted, Mike White was playing against the Bears
without Justin Fields.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Not that he's played defense, but yeah.
I don't know. But, he might have.
He might have, right?
I don't remember who he played against in his first 3 touchdown game, but, knowing, again, this is the Jets we're talking about. This could very well be the beginning of the end of Zach Wilson as the Jets quarterback. Not because Mike White is the guy for the job.
Yeah, it could be the beginning of the end for Mike White and Zach Wilson.
Right.
It could be just a fissure that is going to grow until it becomes uncrossable.
Right.
For Zach Wilson.
Let me throw this picture up really quick. This picture right here says it all. It says everything you want to know about Zach Wilson. I'm going to put it up right now. And Pete, I'll let you describe what's in this picture, since you're the current Jets fan on the show right now. There we go. All right.
So everyone there is
Mike White.
So Mike White, and that's Flacco, right?
Flacco and the quarterbacks coach are all doing their homework.
Well, they only had 3. They're all looking at their Microsoft.
I'm sure.
And to be fair, Flacco is checking Instagram.
Probably.
All right.
And
Zach Wilson is checking out some 63-year-old woman in the stands in the front row.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have his uniform on. He's not getting in the game, so he doesn't have to, Again, this is what I'm talking about. If whether it comes from him just kind of giving up on this team, or whether it comes from the team just kind of saying, this guy just doesn't have it.
Okay.
This could be just a widening chasm. And the only reason I say that is because it's the Jets. And they're not, again, we have a new regime, but they don't have a history of being good at fixing things like this.
No, they haven't.
And this could be a hand washing. But, if that's the case, for all the good that what's his name, Joe Douglas has done, if you're looking at a number 2 pick, and then you're looking at other pick, you're looking at Bradford, who was whatever number he was.
He had a good game this year.
Sam Bradford Darnold.
How many times as an organization?
He was 3. He was number 3.
He was 3, right? Yeah. How many times as an organization can you blow a top 5 pick on a quarterback and not get the right guy? Is it because you just keep picking the right guy, or do you not know how to develop these people? Which seems to be the Jets have a long history of picking people who appear to be talented and then just never really go anywhere.
It's got to be, right? I mean, common sense would tell you. I mean, the law of averages would tell you that it's got to be something more than just poor picking.
You've got to hit on somebody, right?
Right. And it's not like it's the same people picking every single one of these quarterbacks.
Right. That's what I'm saying as an organization.
Hold on. The Jets aren't alone in this. People were slamming Mac Jones 3 weeks ago. You have the long list of quarterbacks that were drafted by the Cleveland Browns. You have the list goes on, whether it's the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Marcus Mariotas of the world, or all of these. There's a high percentage of top picks who are thrown in too soon and who don't necessarily live up to the hype. Now, Mike White, what was a 5th round pick by the Cowboys 4 or 5 years
Something
ago?
like that.
Yeah. So you don't expect a lot from him. And
I'm not saying he's the answer either.
No, I understand that. But my point being is that it happens. It happens. I mean, we all know about it.
It does. But we're looking at a 3 and a 2 in the last few years, and
You're
it's
right.
just it's
The only other team that's done that is Cleveland. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
now listen,
they
I'm not
kept
saying
picking number ones and losing.
Right.
I'm not saying it's definitely
Tim Couch.
over for Zach Wilson.
Johnny Manziel.
Baker Mayfield.
Clearly Baker Mayfield. Yeah.
So, there's still and they should be doing everything they can to get him back to being their quarterback of the future. At least in their minds, if it's not in their minds. But again, it's the Jets, man. You just can't. I've been a fan for 50 years, and it just breeds a sense of doom.
Yeah, well, they stink.
I can't get past it. Until you get it right, you are going to get it wrong.
Let's flip the page here and talk about the good thing about the Jets. Obviously, other than Mike White, right? And Wilson, not Zach Wilson.
They ruined my week in picks.
Yeah. They got a great defense.
They got one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah,
right.
And look, Sauce Gardner maybe is the pick of the other. Sauce Gardner might have been the pick of the draft.
Who?
Sauce.
Who?
How you doing, brother? Joe Douglas.
Hey, man.
I'm going to turn you over to Coach Sala.
Hey, yelling. I'm great, man. Blessed to be here, man.
Hey, man. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
Yeah, gotta say, good pick.
Well, we'll see.
Good job with them.
Tough. Jets go on the road for a tough game against a good team this week. We'll see.
Be
see if the Mike White magic continues.
It'll be very interesting. A really great defense against a whiz bang offense that's got 100 different weapons. So
that's true. That's true. All right. Although Dalvin Cook has not, in the last 2 weeks, has not really done a whole hell of a lot on the ground. So that mean that this week he's due. He's due. Hey, there you go. Anyway, couple other things NFL wise. Just want to point a couple things out. Number one, and most importantly, the others are kind of not jokes but tongue in cheek. Just want to show you this. I don't know if you saw this. I'll read it. Record as 49ers starter for first 59 starts, including playoffs. Joe Montana had a record of 37-22. Steve Young had a record of 40-19. Jimmy Garoppolo also has a record of 40-19. So you think they might be rethinking Trey Lance?
They don't have to.
What do you mean?
He's out for the year. I mean,
I don't mean this year. Yeah. I mean in general.
No,
they're
not.
Do you think they're gonna?
Not enough to.
He didn't go anywhere because they weren't going to get any trade. But obviously, if they don't do something, they're going to have to let Jimmy Garoppolo go because he's a free agent after this year. Does he leave or do they franchise tag him? Or they just say, okay, whatever we get this year, wonderful. We're going with Lance next year.
Look,
I think it depends on who else is going to be a free agent.
I think that the 49ers could be as good a team, if not better, with Trey Lance.
Okay.
You know, Jimmy Garoppolo's got a great record. Joe Montana and Steve Young had 5 Super Bowl wins in 7 tries or something like that. So, look, I've always said the 49ers can win with Jimmy Garoppolo.
5-5.
You know, and he's perfect for this team. They win 10-0. They have a great defense. When their defense plays the way they can, you know, he hands it off to a wide receiver. That's their offense. So,
there you go.
You know, they're a well-coached team that plays great defense.
So for this particular case, you're saying it's more not Jimmy Garoppolo being a good quarterback. That's fine, but it's more. It's also not more. Also about the coaching and
it's also Jimmy Garoppolo is good at what they need. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He doesn't. You know, they don't need him to throw the ball 40 times a game. He does what they need him to do, and he can create some plays himself.
Right.
But if you put Josh Allen on the 49ers, they're a better team.
So you can also teach Trey Lance to do the things that Jimmy Garoppolo does because
and
he
more
doesn't have to put the
and
team
potentially
on
more.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit better legs.
I thought the 49ers were rushing the Trey Lance thing a little bit. They went to the NFC Championship game last year. If it wasn't for a bonehead play by Jimmy Garoppolo, they could have been in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I think throwing in a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback into that mix, knowing that you were a play or two away from the Super Bowl, that's screwing with the formula. So maybe it's just what was meant to be. They were meant for this year to have Jimmy behind the ball and see where they could do. I mean, you can't say that they're not the top 2 to 3 teams that's favored to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC.
Yeah.
You know, who? It's just the makeup of the team.
Right.
Yeah. Is he a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? No.
No.
Is he a good fit for the 49ers? Sure. There's a lot of guys that would be a good fit for the 49ers.
Sure. We got this one too. I want to throw up there. The modern NFL. Winning teams in the East divisions, AFC and NFC. Everybody. Winning teams in the South divisions, AFC and NFC. One team. Everybody else is just. So.
Well, it was a couple weeks ago. We had there were 3 games, I think, that both teams had a winning record that were playing each other.
Yeah. And the entire rest of the field, not so much. And some
that had to do with bye weeks and things like that.
Yeah, fair enough. So, and then of course, I said this as a joke before with all the flags, ref with all the flags around them. It's not just the Giants. This is it's getting annoying, and I'm getting somewhere with this, so bear with me here. The penalties lately are just like every play they're throwing a flag. Every play, somebody bends over and ties his shoes, it's a flag. Somebody sneezes, they're throwing a flag. Illegal sneezing. I'm getting it sarcastic, obviously, but the one penalty.
That's all sports now.
The one penalty that really, really, really just for every team, not just the Giants, even if it was against the Giants, against the team the Giants were playing, the illegal man downfield call. It's every pass play now that they're throwing the damn flag. The guy has the offensive lineman has 1 foot over the line of scrimmage, flag, and it's like they have a new ref.
Why should you be
on the line watching?
Why should you be penalized for a guy who obviously is not doing his job well?
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, so they have a 400-pound guy who waddled downfield. They're not throwing the ball to him. So if they don't throw the ball to him, how does that change the game?
Right.
Yeah. Why is that even a penalty?
Illegal man downfield. But here's my thing. You know what? Now, okay, I get it. He didn't report as eligible, and that's been something that's been gone on for many, many, many years. But here's my thing. it's not just that. If the offensive lineman is winning the battle at the line of scrimmage and he pushes the defensive lineman back, he's downfield. They throw a flag.
Well, most of the time they call it because the guy's been smoked and he's standing there with his thumb up his ass.
Right. Now I get it. And even then, what the hell's the difference?
If you're
like,
pass,
what is he gonna do?
If you're pass blocking, you're not moving the guy backwards.
Right. No, I'm not saying that happens, but I'm saying I've seen it a couple of times where, and when I don't mean he's shoving him back like 30 yards. Yeah. I mean like a half a yard. He's beyond the line of scrimmage.
It's supposed to be 3 yards.
I've seen it where he's like got 1 foot into,
They need to change that. And then also, look, punters. This roughing, for a long time there, they never called any roughing the kicker.
Right. Now
it's just like the punter keeps his leg in the air and hops towards a defender. It's just like, come on.
Well, that and the roughing the passer too now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one, but yeah, it's extreme.
Yeah, but they've gotten more strict now with guys who, are pulling up, trying not, their momentum is carrying them. They're not grabbing the guy and slamming him down or anything.
Right. They want to see that, like, if they're already grabbed him and he's throwing the ball, they want to see him go like this. So they want him to land on the quarterback without bracing himself on the ground with his hands up in the air, so they can prove that he's not putting him down. So possibly hurt the quarterback and themselves, just so that they can see the rules are just.
You got to protect these players.
Yeah, the penalties. I mean, I get the protection, I get the safety. I'm all for that, and that's fine. But some of these rules, it's just it's just so that it's like the refs are getting paid by the flag. They'll get their whole salary if they throw their quota in the game.
Well, listen, what did everybody always used to say for years and years? Oh, there's a holding penalty, or there's a this penalty, or there's a that penalty on every single play. The refs just don't throw it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that was true.
There's too many holding calls too. Look, as somebody who's played offensive line, if your arm wraps around somebody, that's not holding. Okay. If you're grab somebody and tackle them to the ground, that's holding. If you grab their shirt and your hands are inside, that's the offensive line has no advantage in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
And just all of these holding calls are just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can call holding because holding is a ridiculous penalty. So let them play.
I know. Anyway. All right. Do we want to do
and the other thing that bugs me is it should not take 27 minutes to figure out if somebody's foot was in.
Right.
We all saw it. We knew the answer. On the second replay, I knew the answer.
Exactly. Do we want to do Are They For Real, or do we want to go to Beaten by the Coin right
now? Let's do Beaten by the Coin, I guess.
Let's do Beaten by the Coin. All right. Time for a little Beaten by the Coin.
By the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
Yes. Well, none of us are at this point in much danger of losing season-wise to the coin. The coin has fallen behind a lot in the past couple of weeks, but
the coin, much like the Giants and Jets, have come back to earth.
Come back to earth after hanging around 500. However, things are changing almost on a weekly basis amongst our picks. So very quickly last week, you guys both went 4-2, respectable.
No, I went 5-1. What the hell are you guys doing? I went 5-1.
No, God, now I gotta scroll back.
You guys are cheating me every week.
What?
Every week.
I got them right here.
I went 5-1.
Harry's picks last week.
Oh,
Cowboys,
no, you're right. You picked
Vikings,
Dallas. What?
Bengals, Bears.
You're right. All right, 5-1. My bad.
Every week. I need a recount. Got him. You're gonna make me sound like some crazy person from Arizona.
Well, all right. So great. You're 2 games back instead of 3.
So I went 4-2. Harry went 5-1.
You went 4-2. Harry went 5-1. I went 5-1. The coin went 2-4.
Yeah.
So I have a 2-game lead over Harry, and you are 4 games back. John.
4 games back of you.
No, you're 6
4
games
games
back from me.
6 games back of you. 4 games back of Harry.
Pete made
Yeah.
a big run with some big upset picks. A couple
I
weeks
picked
ago.
some upsets lately and
Been
followed
on a
my,
heater. You've been on a heater. What are you? 10-2 in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
That's
good.
amazing.
The underdogs have
amazing.
treated me well.
There you go. All right.
All right, so let's get to this week's picks. Grab the coin here. First up, we've got Buffalo visiting New England,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? Let's have the coin pick first.
Sure, go for it.
We never do that. Coin never gets to go first, and the coin likes New England, the home team. Came up
There you
heads.
go. There you
So
go.
there we go. I will say that I am going to disagree with the coin and take Buffalo. Harry,
Buffalo.
Buffalo. John,
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I'm just look at me.
yeah. That's what I figured. You never know. You could be trying to jinx them.
There you go.
Next up, the Jets travel to Minnesota. We discussed this offense against defense, and Mike White, the coin, once again likes the home team and is taking Minnesota.
All right.
John,
I'm going Jets.
Jets. How about that?
I'm going Jets.
Harry,
He's wrong. The Vikings will win.
All right.
okay. I'm also taking the Jets.
Yeah, I think Mike White throws 4 interceptions and the Jets come down to earth.
I
All
think
right.
the Jets can not completely stifle Minnesota's offense, but hold them at bay.
Yeah,
Mike White still might throw 4 interceptions, though.
it's possible.
Yeah.
We could all be correct.
Yes, indeed. Now, I wanted to mention this because the next game is related to this. You know, last year we were picking the Jets and the Giant games,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the night games, and we ended up with some real dogs because the Jets and the Giants stunk.
Right.
So this year we said we're going to pick games that are interesting, that have meaning,
And that
a
are
couple times-
that are close.
right, that we thought would be good games and that sort of thing. We did pick
Spreads that are not to 3 points or less typically.
Right.
right, and we did pick a couple of two lousy teams for the entertainment value. You know, who's really on the bottom of the barrel, but for the most part, we've been picking the games that count for something, and we're picking the Jets and the Giants a lot this year.
Yeah.
So
figured.
I think the football gods heard us talking about how we were going to make our picks this year, and they said, "Oh no, you're going to pick the Jets and the Giants, so we're going to make them good, so that
There
you
you
have to pick those games." So
It worked out for us.
I think our pick strategy of choosing games is partially responsible.
The NFL gods also made half the league 7-4,
Well,
and the other half
3
half
and
of the league
8.
3 and 8.
4 and 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next up is the Washington Commandos visiting the New York Giants, and the coin loves the home team and is taking the Giants, which would give them 8 wins, I believe. So Harry,
I like the football team from Washington.
the Washingtonians. I do too. John,
I don't know why, because as you know, I did take the Cowboys last week. But I'm going to take the Giants this week.
take the Giants. All
Taking the
right.
Giants this week.
It's a tough
Loving the
one.
New York teams.
Mhm.
Next up is
I picked all 3 New York teams so far.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're gonna. No more games for John.
That's it.
We'll flip a
There's
coin. for it.
there's a 4th team that has some fans in New Jersey.
Right.
So and Tennessee is visiting them Eagles this weekend, and the coin once again.
That's a 2-headed coin.
Oh shit! It is. Likes the home team, and is picking the Phillies.
Yeah.
Not the Phillies. The Eagles.
The Phillies to beat the
Coin is giving up on picking football. They're
the
now
Phillies
picking
to beat the
baseball.
Predators. There you
Yeah. So I too am going to take them Eagles.
go. Mm-hmm.
John,
Eagles.
Eagles. Harry.
I think Tennessee is going to give the Eagles a run for the money, but I think the Eagles hold on. I think this is a close, fairly low-scoring game, but the Eagles will win.
There you go.
All right. Next up, we like the AFC East this week. The Dolphins visiting the Garoppolonians in San
Janine
Francisco. And the coin likes San Francisco.
There you go.
Coin is really
Coin is
Coin
just
is
lopsided.
Coin's a very big
every
homer.
so far. Wow.
How many times can you get heads in a row?
5, apparently. So, San Francisco, John, who do you like?
I'm taking the Dolphins.
Just trying to make up some ground here.
Little ground.
Harry?
Miami's been winning games, but they haven't beaten anybody good. This is going to be a close one, too. It's going to be a challenge for the 49ers. If this is in Miami, I might go with the Dolphins. But I think at home, I think San Francisco holds on.
I agree with you. I'm also going to take San Francisco. So, John, you're on an island there.
There you go.
And last but not least, Kansas City visiting them Bengals in Cincinnati, who they're still ascending, right? Cincinnati's still ascending.
Still on their way up, yeah.
Yeah, and KC is KC. So let's see. Will the coin pick the Bengals? The coin does not.
Wow.
It
actually does have a tails on it. There you go.
There we go.
A little common sense.
Oh, there we go. It's going to KC. Harry?
I love Joe Burrow, and I love the Bengals.
I know you do, and they're at home.
They're at home. And I struggled with this one, but there's something about Cincinnati that they're just not quite as good as they were last year. And I think this is going to be a less than a field goal game. I think Kansas City holds on to win this, though.
Kansas City.
Kansas City. I agree.
All right.
So we are all in agreement there.
There you go.
John's on an island with Miami. We all like Philly. We're split on you and the coin like the Giants. You and I like the Jets. And the coin is on an island with New England.
There you go.
Some good games this week.
So there we go. Just a few games separating us all.
We'll see if heat stays hot as a skillet in the sun.
There you go. I will throw this comment up from Dave Scardino, just rubbing it a little bit more from the Thanksgiving game, 28-20. There you go. Yeah. Notice he didn't say.
It wasn't that
notice
close,
he didn't say
Dave.
Harry. He just said Johnny. So there you go.
It wasn't
Thanks,
that close,
Dave.
That was a 28-12 game.
It was a 28-12 game. Could have been a 21-12
Yeah, how do you
game.
miss extra points?
A lot of missed extra points this year.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
All right. So cool. All right, let's beat by the
Harry,
coin.
I will get on the website and fix the thing.
Fix the thing. Yeah.
We need a recap for this whole season.
We can go back through and double check.
It's only
it.
fixed if I win.
It's only happened 3 weeks in a row.
It's only fixed if I win.
There you go. Exactly. So, all right. Time for Are They For Real?
What is real?
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Pretty sure none of that's real.
You're not real.
For real, for real, for real. Yeah.
Are you for real? For real? For real? For real?
Are they for real?
What is real?
They're real and they're
Spectacular. Yes.
I should have put that in. I may have to do a I didn't think of that one.
Well, you got to do the one with the bed in it too, so you have to do it for that one.
That's right. I sat for probably a good 25 minutes trying to think of what clips I wanted to, and that one did not come to
That
mind.
clip's so good, it sounds like 40 minutes worth of work.
Yeah.
And at least 45 minutes of thinking.
I spent 20 minutes thinking about it, and then another 4.5 minutes thinking about it.
Right, exactly.
All right, are they for real? First up, we're going to start in the NBA. Because, the season's going on. And
Sure.
Certainly is.
It's early. We're 20 games in or so. But there's a little team in New Orleans called the Pelicans. And a little guy named, well, he's not so little, a guy named Zion who, along with the rest of that team, has got the Pelicans. It's early, but they are 12-8, and in third place in the Western Conference behind the Phoenix Suns and Harry, your Denver Nuggets. So, are the Pelicans for real?
Well, somebody on this podcast actually predicted that the Pelicans are going to be this good, and had them going to the Western Conference Finals. So yeah, they're for real, and they're going to get better.
And they're going to get better. Yeah, they're for real. They're definitely.
I think they are if Zion stays healthy. That's the question. They're for real with him, but
they've been playing without Ingram.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's why I say they're going to get better.
But yeah, three yeses. All right. Let's stay with the NBA just for another one here.
Sure.
In the Eastern Conference, we've got a nice fourth place team from Indiana, the Pacers, also 12-8, winners of 7 out of their last 10.
Yep.
And trailing the Celtics, Bucks, and the Cavaliers. Are the Pacers for real?
Real-ish.
Real-ish.
I think they'll be an above 500 team. I think they could very well be a playoff team. The other team you have to ask, are they for real, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think we expected a little bit out of Cleveland with the moves they made in the offseason. But Indiana is a lot like Utah. They're the kind of the Utah of the East. Some good shooters, some good role players. They're playing good defense, and they're playing team ball. So, I think they're going to stick around. I think they're better than the Knicks. I think they're better than a lot of other teams that have been to the playoffs in the last few years in the East. I think they'll make the playoffs this year.
I would say that's a yes vote.
I'll say that, look, I mean, if we're talking about are they for real in general, are we talking about are they winning everything or at least getting far? That's one thing. Are they for real that they're going to make the playoffs and maybe, be a higher seed? Yeah. Are they comparing it to the last one? I think the Pelicans are more for real than the Pacers are.
Of course.
But are the Pacers for real just in general? Yeah, they're for real. They're for real. I mean, you look at the East, though. I mean, you're talking the top 10 teams get in the playoffs, right? The Knicks are the number 10 team right now. They have a losing record. So,
which is always the case in the East.
Which is usually the case in the East, right? So at 12-8, yeah, the Pacers are for real. Yeah.
And interestingly, you've got Miami and Chicago who are right now out of the playoffs. Although again, it's still early, but
yeah, it's too early.
It's kind of the flip side of that. All right. Yeah, I think they are. As far as the Pacers go, I think they are better. They are better. Yeah. They are legitimately better.
I think they squeak into the playoffs. If I think they squeak into the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go to football.
All right.
Because we love the NFL,
of course.
And I don't know if I mentioned this team last time we did this. I might have. Anyway, they're not good, but they're better than the Packers. They're 4-7, and they've been really terrible of late. The Detroit Lions. I think we might have done this before, right? Are the Detroit Lions for real? They keep winning.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say yeah because I said it. I've said it before. They're Dan Campbell's not a bad coach. Is he Bill Parcells? No, but
they're buying in?
They're buying in, and that's important. All right, and as long as you have a decent game plan and the team's buying in to what he's dishing out, then yeah, and they do have talent. They do have a lot of talent, actually, more than they've had in recent history. They have a decent team that they're starting to put together. So yeah, I think the Detroit Lions are for real.
So they are legitimately chewing ankles. What was it? That whole screed he went on, biting kneecaps and
kneecaps, yeah,
ripping out femoral arteries or whatever it was that he said. So yeah, this is
he's a character and a half, that's for sure.
Listen, there's a lot of great stories in the NFL.
What team drafted that guy? I tell you.
The Giants.
Who? The Giants.
Oh, the Giants.
Dan Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Lions are one of the great stories in the NFL.
I think they're improving. But let's look at it realistically. They played 2 great games that they lost against the Bills and the Dolphins. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They squeaked by a Packers team that we know stinks.
Right.
Okay. They beat a Bears team by 1 point that stinks.
It also stinks.
Okay. They beat a Giants team pretty handily. That's a good big win for them. They lost to the Cowboys. They lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Vikings. They beat the Commanders and they lost to the Eagles. So are they, in comparison to the Detroit Lions of the past,
That's what I'm doing.
Are they better?
Yeah.
Yes. Are they a competitive football team? Yes. Are they a 500 team by the end of the year? No.
Right.
But
But
they're playing tough teams really well, and they're gonna be one of those teams. At the end of the year here, they're gonna win a game they're not supposed to win. Maybe against the Vikings in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe and they've got a couple games towards the end here that they could win. They could beat the Packers, especially if it's a meaningless game. They could beat the Bears. They could beat the Panthers. They can beat the Jets. They could beat the Jaguars. The Lions could win 5 out of their last 6 games.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah. And I will say this, when you talk about meaningless games, there are no meaningless games for the Detroit Lions.
No, they're
no
all very
what
meaningful
their record
games.
is.
Yeah.
They have something to prove. So
yeah, I definitely I agree.
Not really for real.
I think they win 8 games this year.
Yeah, I mean, but for the see, this is my point. When everything's subjective, are they for real? Are they for real as compared to the Eagles, or are they for real as compared to the Chiefs? No. But are they for real for what they're doing, for where they've been coming from forever?
If they win 8 games,
absolutely.
then Dan Campbell should be considered for Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw this up really quick. Dave Scardino just commented, and again, his son is a Lions fan. They seem to have tough losses. Good team. Agreed. And something
I think the last two words of that statement, good team, that's something you haven't really been able to say about
Detroit, yeah.
For some time.
And I'm just curious as to I have one question for Dave. Back to Dave. How?
Well, he saw the silver and blue and got confused.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. Okay.
He confused him with the Cowboys.
I know.
Yeah.
Really quick though. Dave,
he's blue-green colorblind. He didn't realize it's a little different blue.
Right. So, he did comment before on the Pelicans. He said as long as Zion stays healthy. So he's saying what we did. So anyway.
Yeah. All right. Let's head over to the National Hockey League.
Do that.
Here's one thing on the Pelicans. Zion's not scoring 35 a game. Okay, they're a good team, and they're playing without arguably their best player right now. Zion's great.
Yep.
But I think Zion's maybe their second best player, or at least
right,
one
A. You have to account for him.
Absolutely.
And that's
Zion's a big
they haven't
piece,
had another guy that you have had to account for.
But let me tell you something. That's an organization that's put together a good team. And I think they'll be able to get through a long season intermittently, potentially with some nicks and bumps and things along the way. But if they can come together on playoff time, they're going to be a team to beat. They're going to be a team to reckon with.
I agree. All right. We were going to, by the way, Dave laughed at the Cowboys-Lions reference. So there you go. Anyway.
All right.
NHL.
Let's talk a little bit about NHL.
NHL. Oh, God.
I wanted to just
It's hockey. It's the National Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
So very quickly, they are
not for you, for anybody else that doesn't know.
14-5, 33 points.
Second, the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions.
The Toronto Argonauts the Maple Leafs. Are they for real?
Well, yeah, they were for real last year. They're for real this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
The question with Toronto is always, can they win in the postseason? And look, they got up. They hit a roadblock last year, but God, the whole world is rooting for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. Okay. I agree. And yeah, same thing. They're for real. They're definitely for real in the regular season. The playoffs is another question. We'll have to wait and see what that happens. But yeah,
well, maybe we'll revisit, assuming they get there, because only half the teams get.
And
they
probably will. Only half the teams get to the playoffs.
Only half the teams.
Actually, more than half the teams do.
All right. Well, You're going to have to stump on my gag. All right. Finally, this might be the toughest one of all.
All right.
USA soccer, the men's team. Are they for real? A win over Iran.
1-0 and two ties.
1-0, right? One win, 2 ties, enough to get into the round of 16. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the article about the controversy with the U.S. Soccer Federation. It wasn't the team, it wasn't the coach, but they put out something and they had the Iranian flag on it, and they removed some of the things that were on the Iranian flag. I don't know if you heard about this. There was some writing on the flag that apparently
who removed it.
Well, this was it was, I believe, the
Soccer Federation.
Yeah, the U.S. Soccer Federation put out it was a news story, or it was a preview of the game or something, and they had the American flag and the Iranian flag, and the Iranian flag was missing some of its components.
They took off the little symbol of the government strangling schoolgirls.
Something like that. Yeah. I forget exactly what it was, and the Iranians, the government, of course, was all up in arms, and apparently this could potentially be a violation of FIFA's rules, the 3 rules that they have.
You want to talk about violating rules?
Yeah, exactly.
How fucking rich.
So Iran is talking about making fun of or degrading another team or that sort of thing, and they were demanding that the USA be thrown out of the tournament. And apparently, it is a real rule that they were talking about, and it's punishable by you could have a 7 or 8 or 9 game suspension or something like that. Nothing's going to be done during the tournament, of course, but and again, it didn't have anything to do with the players and the team itself. It was the management of USA Soccer that fucked up. So, but I have to say, looking at the story, Iran kind of has a point. If they had done that, if Iran had done that and put our flag up with 13 stars on it or missing some of the red and white stripes, we would be all up in arms. So, but anyway, back to the nice moment. It didn't seem to affect the players on the field.
Right.
They were able to keep the politics out of it. And the USA won 1-0, and there were a couple of instances of Team USA players consoling some of the Iranian players who, of course, were knocked out with the loss. So they kept the politics off the pitch, which was really nice, and a great gesture by members of the USA team.
Sure.
So now they have to take on the Netherlands and blah, blah, blah. They're looking pretty good. Christian Pulisic was hurt, scoring a goal, the goal against Iran. So I'm not sure what his status is. Hopefully, unless his leg is broken in 2, I imagine he'll be back.
They were inches away from blowing it at the end of the game.
Yeah, they were.
And they've scored 1 goal, if I'm correct.
They have had trouble scoring, but have been in everything and looked good. Listen, you played England to a draw and all that. So, again, back to the original point of this whole segment: are they for real?
They are the.
And they get out. The standard will be: can they get past the round of 16?
No, but they're the Detroit Lions of the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, quite frankly, they are actually. That's a good analogy. Yeah. Look, the USA when it comes to soccer,
we've been horrible forever.
I mean, it against the stars out there from around the world. No, we're not getting. I mean, there's a shot. Maybe.
It's going to be tough against.
It's going to be tough against the Netherlands, but they're not going much further than that. So, it's like the little engine that could. They're out there. They're giving it their all, and they're coming out on the right side of it so far, but. I think that it probably stops here, and if they do happen to get past the Netherlands, they're not going much further than that. So, and I hate to say it, I would love to say USA, Team USA, they're for real. Are they for real on the level of the Lions and the little engine that could? Yeah, sure, I'll say that, sure. But are they beating Argentina? No.
Well, listen, they held England to a scoreless draw. And England's put the ball in the net 9 times.
Yeah, England's 2-0-1. The Netherlands are 2-0-1.
I think they've Netherlands scored 5 and gave up 1. USA's only given up 1 goal.
No, they've only given up 1 goal. So yeah, I mean that is
scoring, not defense.
They have a good goalie.
Yeah, they do. They do. Turner's very good.
Yeah,
I think they have a chance against.
I think they have a chance against the Netherlands. I do, but I don't think it's going much further than that.
All right, so a no and a no. I'm going to say yes. I think they're for real. I think they can get. I think you can get out of this round.
Fair enough. But go Team USA. I'm all in. On that. Sure.
Yeah, they're the Detroit Lions of
the Detroit Lions of the international soccer.
But God, I love them.
Of FIFA.
Right. They're not the women's team. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What you would call it on? Is that? Are we good?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
I was gonna say, is that the end of Are They For Real? There you go.
Yeah, I only have 5. Are They For Reals?
All right. There you go.
4.5. Right. The Maple Leafs was only a half.
There you go. Well, I mean, we kind of touched on basketball during Are They For Real, right? But we talked about some of the teams. Hey, you know what? You got anything to add to that, Harry, Pete?
Actually, you know what? There's one thing I want to add. One quick football note, which I forgot to mention before. Sure. Matt Rule, who is now the head coach at Nebraska,
sure,
and
speaking of the Detroit Lions,
had a stint with the Carolina Panthers. Blah blah blah. His takeaway from his time with Carolina, and I quote, "I think I probably would just have taken another job." That's what he said on the Peter Schrager podcast.
I think I probably would just have taken another job.
Yeah, that's what you learn from your horrible 11-27 record with Carolina.
I mean, I'll coach the Carolina Panthers for what they paid him.
The Giants had to put up with 2 years of Joe Judge because Matt Rule did that and went to the Panthers. Sometimes, sometimes things happen for a reason, So
yeah,
there you go.
So I thought I'd just bring that up. I thought that was funny.
There you go.
I'd rather be in Nebraska.
There you go.
As far as the NBA,
all things equal, I'd rather be in Nebraska.
As far as the NBA,
he's from New York, isn't he?
Yeah, he's local.
Originally, maybe.
The
I think they're 500, 11-11 heading into today. That's Ben Simmons calf strain, going to be out for 3 games. I said it before, I'll say it again. Just give it up. Blow this team up and start over. You're not going anywhere. I know you disagree with me, Harry, but it's hard to argue with. Well, you have Kevin Durant, but it's always going to be something.
Matt Rule was born and raised in New York City.
Well, I mean, I'm the one person who's never given Ben Simmons any sort of credibility.
That's true. That's true.
You got Cuckoo Bird, and he's back, and Kevin Durant, and look, the Nets they're playing 500 ball. They had a kind of a slow start. They're winning tonight against the Washington Wizards, another team that's hovering around 500. I think the Nets' depth is an issue, and I think at some point the amount of time that Durant and Irving are going to be the minutes that are going to be asked of them. Now Durant has 37 tonight. Kyrie has 23. There's not, Joe Harris has 14. Is actually plus 11. There are other starters though, or guys that probably wouldn't be starting on very many other teams, and their bench, other than Seth Curry.
Seth Curry, yes.
Seth Curry. They don't have, they don't get a lot of minutes from their bench guys. So I don't know. Patty Mills hasn't been playing much. They a lot of the depth that they had a year ago is gone. And I still think the Nets are a playoff team, and I still think they could do some damage. I think you got to give them a little bit of time. I'll tell you who's having a good year, though, with the Wizards, and put together a couple of really good games back-to-back here. I never thought I'd say this. is Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
I saw some highlights of him the other night. He looked pretty good.
He might slowly be having, he's averaging over 20 points a game, 8.2 rebounds, which is, unheard of for him, and almost 3 assists a game. And he's, 18th in the league in player efficiency rating. So, it only took his 9th team, but
in his 7.5 season.
And,
seventh and a half season, yeah.
7.5 season, and there's only one center left in the league. But he's I give credit where credit's due. He's having a pretty decent year.
All right. Also, real quick,
I think he has to rely too much on Taj Gibson. So.
Yeah,
maybe. Let's talk about the pick and roll. We love the pick and roll, right?
Sure.
Who are the top 10 pick and roll scorers in the game right now? Or maybe
top 10.
Let's just go through the top 5
scorers or pick and roll teams.
No. Guys that get points off the pick and roll.
Well, it's got to be Booker. Devin Booker's got to be up there. No.
Nope.
Okay.
John Morant.
John Morant is number 1, 14 points a game off the pick and roll. That's just about 50% of his.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes, he's number 10, 8.5, 8.6.
Probably Donovan Mitchell with Cleveland.
Donovan Mitchell is third at 12 point. Second at 12.7.
Luka.
Luka is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7th. 10.4.
Steph Curry's got to be on.
Steph Curry's got to be up there.
Steph Curry is 8th at 9.5. A couple more recognizable names.
Trae Young.
Yeah, it's got to be guards. Trae Young.
Trae Young is third, 11.9.
What's his name on Chicago's probably on there.
Yep.
DeRozan.
Yep.
DeMar DeRozan, 10.9. He is fourth.
And then we were talking about the Pacers earlier. The guy who's named after Dick Cheney's old company.
That's right. Tyrese Halliburton, 8.6. He is number 9. That's just a great name.
And
he's named after his old company.
And I said, Shea, look, I think SGA from OKC is an MVP.
Yeah. Ooh, nice. Filling out the 5 and 6 spots are Cade Cunningham from the Pistons at 10.8 and Darius Garland of Cleveland at 10.7. So you got Mitchell and Garland from Cleveland.
Booker's got to be in the top 15.
Mitchell.
I don't know. I only have 10. I would think so, but he ain't top 10.
You know who might also be in the top 20 after watching them a few times? Jalen Brunson might be in the top 20 in pick and roll. I would say Drew Holiday too for the Bucks, but I don't know. Somebody on the Clippers. I mean, if they ever played together, I would imagine that Paul George or Kawhi Leonard would be up there, but they just don't play enough.
Yeah.
Dave just commented again. He says, as a disgruntled Knicks fan, I root for LeBron to lose every game.
Yeah, that's not a problem these days.
Well on his way to doing that right now.
Yeah.
So
the thing is that like you watch LeBron still, and it's just like it's unbelievable. I mean, he's still jumping 4 feet above the rim for alley-oops that he's. Yeah, it's horrible. LeBron's done some things over the course of his career that you don't like, but it's hard not to like him. And just, I think that he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I mean, if you're going to start a Mount Rushmore with 5 people, with the best player in every, there's only one, well, maybe 2, that no one will disagree with. I would say right now, as far as shooting guard and small forward, everything else is sort of up for debate to some. If you're under the age of 30, you're not going to pick Magic Johnson for best point guard of all time. But I think almost everybody would pick LeBron James as the best small forward of all time. And I think most people would pick Michael Jordan. I think other than that, everything else is going to be a debate.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't get his I feel like for as good as he is and as heralded as he is, he doesn't get the same reverence as Jordan did, or even as Kobe did.
Right. No, he really doesn't. You're right on that.
But I do like seeing him lose in LA.
There is a growing, I find amongst people I talk to, a growing sentiment for LeBron being the greatest player ever. There are a lot more people who are taking that stance, even over Jordan.
But there's a lot of people who also have forgotten and leave people like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell completely off their list, who don't have Magic Johnson in the top 5 point guards of all time, who don't have Dr. J or Larry Bird, as in the top 5 small forwards. I mean, there's a lot of young people who have a very myopic view of the history of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there's some older people who discredit some of these current players because of the state of the league. At the end of the day, it's hard to not say Steph Curry is the best point guard of all time. He's certainly not going to be number 1 on my list, because I don't even really think he's a point guard. But
yeah, that's the problem with Steph Curry.
It's a tough one, and so yeah, it gets harder and harder. But there's some players coming out of the gate this year having great seasons, and I mentioned him before. OKC's an interesting team, and SGA, man, I really wish he would go. I really wish he was on another team, because he would look wonderful in a Nuggets uniform. Oh my God, the combination of him and Jokic together would be spectacular.
I thought you were going to say he would look good in blue and orange.
He wouldn't. Well, they signed Brunson. They already committed to a point guard that shoots.
Well, I meant on the Mets. But.
Oh, the Mets. Yeah, well, he'd probably be a pretty good center fielder.
Or the Islanders.
Yeah, he'd look good in the Mets.
He'd be great on the Islanders. He'd be the tallest guy on the ice.
Anyway,
not by much anymore, but yeah.
One more comment from Mr. Scardino. He wants to weigh in as far as what he thinks of LeBron. There you go. He said, "Not even close. Jordan equals GOAT."
Yeah, Jordan's one of the best of all time. I would argue that there's more of a debate with Jordan with some other. I think you got to really look at basketball, and you have to go and look at what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was able to do in his lifetime. Am I saying it's definitive? He's better than Jordan? No, but it's close. It's really close.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. Any other? I think we're good on basketball. Hockey. We'd be remiss if we didn't say.
We already talked about hockey.
Well, we talked about one thing, and are they for real?
No.
I was just going to say I'd be remiss if I didn't tip my hat to the Devils. Wow,
Devils.
So
keeping it going. I think they were on the last "Are they for real?" and we said yes. Hey, look, the Islanders are not right behind them in points wise, but in the standings they're.
Mm-hmm.
The Islanders were a disappointment last year. The Islanders should be a team that's.
Islanders fell back. Yeah,
they should be a top 5 or 6 teams in that conference this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's like anything else. It's like we talk about with baseball too. You just get to the playoffs and see what you can do there, and go from there. But yeah, I mean, right now the Rangers wouldn't even be in it.
The Rangers have definitely had a little bit of a slump. They lost again tonight.
Yeah. So, but long season, and it just really started. So, not to bounce back to basketball really quick, but Dave said he agrees with you on Kareem, and he said Bill Russell too.
Yeah, and Russell's a different kind of player, obviously, but
he's a systems player.
He only averaged 40 rebounds one year or something like that a game.
Yeah, he had a great team around him. That's why.
That's what it was.
He had a great team around him, or he was the best player. the one consistent thing about all those great Celtics teams was Bill Russell. He was so fucking good that he coached them one year and played. Yeah.
There you go.
He said, "I need more to do.
I'm
bored doing
I'm
this.
Become the first African American coach, and I'll still play."
Right. I love it. So, all right. Well, anything else? I think we're good.
No. That's it. That's all I got.
Right. Well, on that note, we will wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Of course, just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcast, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch some basketball and hockey. Watch the USA play the Netherlands this weekend. Watch football, and we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.